Brothers and sisters, open your eyes. There is no greater tragedy than watching someone you love fall into darkness. No pain deeper than seeing the soul of a friend, a brother, a sister, once pure, corrupted by unseen forces. But understand this, the world has always been at war, not with swords and fire, but with whispers and temptations. And the battlefield? It is the human heart. Demons do not reveal themselves through grotesque faces or monstrous forms. They do not announce their presence with flames and shadows. Instead, they move subtly, weaving themselves into the daily actions of those around us. It is easy to dismiss them when we expect them to appear as fiction has taught us, horned, red-skinned and terrifying. But this is why so many fail to recognize them. They do not need to frighten, they only need to influence. They seep into human nature through desires, through unchecked emotions, through the silent compromises people make every day. When someone is cruel without cause, when someone manipulates others to serve their own needs, when selfishness replaces integrity, these are the marks of unseen forces at work. The most dangerous demons do not live outside of us, but within. They whisper through the justifications people give themselves for betrayal, for greed, for cowardice. They convince the weak-minded that destruction is power and that cruelty is strength. They distort reality until the victim becomes the villain, and the villain claims righteousness. And in this way, they move undetected, growing stronger in the hearts of those who refuse to question their own behavior. It is the small habits that reveal the true nature of a person. The way someone treats those who cannot defend themselves speaks volumes. A friend who mocks the weak, a family member who belittles others under the guise of honesty, a colleague who takes joy in another's failure. These are not simple character flaws, they are signs of something deeper. Evil does not announce itself with violence at first. It begins with small cruelties, with a disregard for kindness, with a hunger for control. A person who enjoys the suffering of others, no matter how subtly, has already surrendered a piece of their soul to something dark. And the danger lies not only in their actions, but in their ability to disguise them. A charming smile can hide malice. Sweet words can be used to control. Some of the most destructive people appear harmless at first glance. They know how to mask their intentions, how to twist their motives to appear justified. This is why looking deeper is necessary. Do not be fooled by outward appearances. It is not in what a person says about themselves, but in how they treat others that their true nature is revealed. Deception is one of the greatest tools of these unseen forces. A person who has surrendered to their darker impulses will never admit it. They will create elaborate justifications for their actions, turning every wrong into something reasonable in their own mind. They will make themselves the victim, even when they have caused harm. They will shift blame onto others to avoid accountability. This is how darkness grows. It thrives in lies. A person who cannot accept responsibility for their own actions is not simply flawed. They have been overtaken by forces they do not recognize. And the most tragic part is that they often believe their own illusions. They convince themselves that they are right, that their cruelty is justified, that their manipulation is necessary. When confronted, they do not reflect, they retaliate. They lash out with anger, with excuses, with twisted logic designed to confuse and exhaust those who dare to challenge them. These are not simply bad habits, these are chains forged by their own choices, chains they refuse to break. A key way to recognize this hidden darkness is through how a person handles power. Someone who gains a small amount of control and immediately uses it to dominate others is already lost. Power does not corrupt, it reveals. A person who was always cruel but lacked the opportunity will show their true nature once given authority. Watch how they act when they have influence over someone vulnerable. Do they show mercy or do they exploit? Do they guide or do they command? A person who enjoys making others feel small is not strong. They are possessed by something hollow, something that feeds on destruction. True strength is found in restraint. in the ability to lead without crushing, to correct without humiliating. But those who have given themselves over to darkness do not see this. They mistake fear for respect, submission for loyalty. They seek to break others because, deep inside, they are broken themselves. One of the greatest illusions these hidden demons create is the false sense of friendship or love. Not all who stand beside you do so with good intentions. Some are drawn to you not for who you are, but for what they can take from you. They disguise their envy as concern, their control as protection. They do not celebrate your victories, they diminish them. They do not comfort you in failure, they remind you of it. They are only loyal when it benefits them. This is why observation is necessary. Do not be blinded by history, by shared experiences, by the illusion of closeness. Look at how they act when there is nothing to gain. Look at how they respond when you no longer serve their purpose. A true ally remains steadfast, but those who harbor darkness will turn the moment their advantage disappears. This is the nature of corruption. It is selfish, it is fleeting, and it is incapable of true loyalty. Understanding this does not mean living in suspicion of everyone. It means learning to recognize patterns, to see beyond words into the heart of actions. It means paying attention to the way people treat others, especially those they have no need to impress. It means not excusing harmful behavior simply because it is uncomfortable to confront. Many allow darkness to thrive because they refuse to acknowledge it. They tell themselves it is not their problem, that it is not their place to judge. But ignorance is not protection. Refusing to see the truth does not make it disappear. And so, those who fail to recognize the demons in others often fall victim to them. They give their trust to those who do not deserve it. They remain loyal to those who would betray them. They suffer not because they are weak, but because they fail to see what was right before their eyes. In the end, recognizing these hidden demons is not about condemning others. It is about protecting yourself. It is about standing firm in the face of deception, about refusing to be manipulated by those who serve only themselves. It is about understanding that not all who smile are friends. Not all who speak kindly have good intentions. The world is full of people who have let darkness take root in their hearts. Some do so knowingly, others through ignorance, but the result is the same. They spread misery, they destroy trust, they leave those around them drained and broken. And the only way to guard against them is to see them for what they are, to strip away the mask and recognize the truth beneath. To understand that demons do not need fangs and fire to destroy, they only need to go unnoticed. Manipulation is one of the most dangerous weapons a person can wield, and yet it is often unseen. It does not arrive with force or violence, but with carefully chosen words, subtle actions, and a slow erosion of your will. A manipulator does not demand power. They convince you to give it willingly. They create guilt where there is none, fear where there should be confidence, and confusion where there should be clarity. They twist reality, making their victims question themselves rather than the one causing harm. At first, it may seem harmless. A small lie here, a slight exaggeration there. But over time, manipulation becomes a poison, dripping slowly until it has reshaped the mind of its victim. A true manipulator knows exactly how to appear innocent. They will never say, "I control you." Instead, they will say, "I'm only trying to help." They will never admit fault, only shift the blame onto others. They play the long game, planting seeds of doubt and watching them grow. This is why they are so dangerous. They do not attack openly, but instead work in the shadows of your trust, shaping your perception until you can no longer see the truth. Deceit is their greatest tool, and they use it without hesitation. A deceitful person does not lie for survival, nor do they lie out of necessity. They lie because it serves them. They do not seek truth, They seek advantage. They fabricate stories to gain sympathy, twist words to avoid accountability, and exaggerate situations to create conflict where none should exist. The most dangerous deceivers are not the ones who lie blatantly, but the ones who mix truth with falsehood. They offer just enough honesty to make their lies believable. They speak with confidence, with conviction, making it difficult to question them without looking like the one in the wrong. Deception is an art, and they have mastered it. They know when to act wounded, when to play the victim, when to offer false kindness just to disarm suspicion. The worst part is that they often believe their own lies. They convince themselves that their actions are justified, that their manipulations are necessary, and those who do not recognize this fall into their trap, defending them, trusting them, allowing them to continue their destruction unchecked. Toxic influence is the result of manipulation and deceit working together. It spreads like a disease, corrupting those who allow it to take hold. A toxic person does not always seek to destroy immediately. Sometimes they merely want control. They want to be the center of attention, the authority on every matter, the voice that must be obeyed. They infect the minds of those around them, making them question their own worth, their own beliefs, their own reality. Toxic individuals often disguise their nature by playing the role of a guide, a protector, a friend. They pretend to have your best interests at heart, while slowly bending your thoughts to serve their own needs. They want you to rely on them, to seek their approval, to fear their disapproval. And once they have that control, they use it to manipulate your choices, your relationships, even your sense of self. They make you believe that you need them, that without their guidance you are lost. And in doing so, they ensure that you never walk away, even when their presence brings only pain. The greatest danger of manipulation, deceit, and toxic influence is that they do not just harm the immediate victim, they spread. A manipulated person becomes a tool for the manipulator. A deceived person unknowingly spreads falsehoods. A person under toxic influence carries that poison into their own relationships, infecting others without realizing it. This is why it is so important to recognize these traits early. Do not excuse small manipulations as harmless. Do not overlook small lies as meaningless. Do not tolerate toxicity simply because it is difficult to confront. Every time you allow these behaviors to continue, you strengthen them. Every time you stay silent in the face of deceit, you give it power. The only way to stop manipulation is to refuse to be manipulated. The only way to defeat deceit is to demand truth. The only way to prevent toxic influence is to remove it from your life entirely. And while this may not always be easy, it is necessary, because the longer you allow such forces to remain in your life, the harder they become to escape. A true friend is a source of strength, someone who stands beside you through storms and victories alike. They do not compete with you, nor do they secretly hope for your failure. Instead, they rejoice in your success as if it were their own. They push you to be better, not by tearing you down, but by reminding you of your worth when you forget it yourself. A true friend does not manipulate or deceive. They do not take advantage of your kindness. They offer support without expectation, kindness without condition. Their presence is a source of peace, not a burden. You do not feel exhausted after speaking with them. You feel understood. They remind you of your values when you stray, not through judgment, but through wisdom. They do not feed your weaknesses. They help you conquer them. They do not indulge in gossip or seek entertainment in your hardships. Instead, they protect you even in your absence. A true friend is not perfect, nor are they without flaws, but their intentions are always pure. They do not seek to benefit from your downfall. Instead, they will pull you from the depths when you can no longer rise on your own. A false friend is a silent poison, disguised as something nourishing. They may offer words of kindness, but there is an emptiness behind them. They smile when you succeed, but in their heart, envy festers. They act as if they care, but only as long as it benefits them. False friends drain your energy, leaving you questioning yourself instead of feeling uplifted. They are not your ally in growth, they are your obstacle. They make subtle remarks that diminish your confidence, hiding their insults within jokes. They create doubt where there should be certainty. When you are at your weakest, they do not lift you up. They remind you of your failures. A false friend does not celebrate your victories, they downplay them. They do not encourage your dreams, they poke holes in them. They do not offer support in times of struggle, they disappear. And when they do remain, it is not to help, but to witness your suffering, feeding on it in silence. Their presence does not nourish the soul, it drains it, leaving behind only exhaustion and regret. The true test of friendship is found in hardship. When difficulties arise, a true friend will not abandon you. They will not turn away because the situation is uncomfortable. They do not need to be asked for help. They offer it before you speak. A false friend, however, will vanish the moment your struggles inconvenience them. When you can no longer provide them with laughter, with benefits, with attention, they will seek someone else who can. They see friendship as a transaction, and once they no longer profit from your presence, they discard you. A false friend does not support you in private. They only acknowledge you when others are watching. They act as if they care when there is an audience, but when the crowd is gone, so is their concern. In contrast, a true friend does not require recognition for their loyalty. They stand by you, not for validation, but because their heart would not allow them to do otherwise. Their commitment is not based on what they can gain, but on the simple, unshakable belief that real friendship is a bond of the soul, not a contract of convenience. It is not always easy to distinguish between true and false friends, because deception thrives in familiarity. A false friend may have shared years of memories with you, but longevity does not equal loyalty. They may have stood beside you in moments of joy, but joy is effortless. It does not test character. The true nature of a person is revealed when there is nothing to gain, when standing beside you costs them something. Many hold on to friendships simply because they fear letting go, convincing themselves that shared history is enough. But a past filled with laughter cannot erase a present filled with betrayal. A true friend, no matter how much time passes, will never act against your well-being. A false friend, no matter how long they have known you, will always prioritize their own benefit over your trust. To recognize this difference is to protect yourself from the damage that false friendships can inflict. It is better to stand alone in truth than to be surrounded by those who smile while secretly wishing for your downfall. Darkness thrives on reaction. It feeds on anger, on chaos, on the uncontrolled emotions of those who oppose it. When faced with deceit, betrayal, or cruelty, the natural instinct is to respond with fury, to strike back with the same force that was dealt. But this is how darkness wins. It drags you into its realm, turning you into a reflection of what you despise. Anger may feel righteous in the moment, but it clouds judgment, distorts truth, and leaves destruction in its wake. To fight darkness with anger is to invite it into yourself, to allow it to take root in your own soul. It is a fire that burns not only your enemies, but also yourself. The true battle is not fought with rage, but with discipline, with wisdom, with an unshakable commitment to virtue. No matter what others do, no matter how cruel or unjust the world may seem, your strength lies in your ability to remain steadfast, to hold on to integrity when tested, to speak truth when surrounded by lies, to act with honor even when dishonor would be easier. This is the only way to conquer darkness without becoming it. Anger promises power, but it is a false promise. It tells you that vengeance will bring peace, that retaliation will restore balance. But in reality, it only creates a cycle of destruction. A person who allows their anger to control them is easily manipulated. They become predictable, reactive, a puppet of their own emotions. Those who wish to spread darkness understand this well. They provoke, they deceive, they push you toward the edge, waiting for the moment you lose control. And when you do, they win. Because the moment you compromise your principles, the moment you abandon reason for rage, you have already lost the battle. True power lies in restraint, in the ability to respond with clarity instead of impulse. The strongest warriors are not those who strike first, but those who refuse to be provoked. They stand unshaken, unmoved by the winds of chaos around them. They do not allow the world to dictate their actions. Instead, they choose their path with wisdom, knowing that the greatest victory is not in destruction, but in maintaining their own inner light. To stand in unwavering virtue is not to be passive. It is not weakness, nor is it submission. It is the ultimate act of defiance against darkness. It means refusing to stoop to the level of those who seek to harm you. It means maintaining dignity in the face of insult, wisdom in the face of deception, and self-control in the face of provocation. Many believe that kindness is a weakness, that mercy is a sign of surrender, but only the weak see destruction as strength. Only the undisciplined believe that cruelty is power. To hold to virtue when challenged requires far more strength than to lash out in anger. It requires mastery over the self, an unbreakable will. It means standing firm when everything around you demands that you fall. A person who can endure injustice without becoming unjust, who can face hatred without returning it, who can suffer loss without losing themselves. This is a person who cannot be defeated. Because true power is not in how much harm one can inflict, but in how much darkness one can resist. There will be moments when you are tested, when betrayal strikes deep, when lies surround you, when it seems as though standing for what is right only brings suffering. In these moments, it is easy to question whether virtue is worth the cost, to wonder if it would be simpler to abandon morality and meet cruelty with cruelty. But virtue is not chosen because it is easy. It is chosen because it is right. Those who abandon their principles in difficult times never truly believed in them. Their morals were not rooted but conditional, dependent on comfort rather than conviction. But true virtue does not waver. It does not crumble under pressure. It stands tall in the storm, unyielding, unwavering. And in doing so, it becomes a light for others. A man of integrity does not only save himself, he inspires those around him. He shows that goodness is not a weakness, but the highest form of strength. And in a world filled with darkness, the one who refuses to be consumed by it is the one who truly wins. The greatest threat to a person does not come from the outside. It is not the enemies they face, the betrayals they suffer, or the obstacles that stand in their way. The greatest battle is the one that takes place within. The fight to remain disciplined, to uphold virtue, to resist the slow and silent corruption that seeps into the mind over time. Many believe they are unshakable, that they are immune to the same weaknesses they see in others. But no one is above temptation. No one is beyond the reach of pride, greed, or fear. The moment a person believes they are untouchable is the moment they are most vulnerable. It is easy to recognize the faults of others, to see the deceit in an enemy, the malice in a false friend, the corruption in the world. But to turn that same gaze inward, to examine one's own heart with the same scrutiny, is far more difficult. And yet this is the most important task of all. A person who does not guard their own soul, who does not constantly examine their own actions, will one day find that they have become the very thing they once despised. There is no battle more difficult than the one against the self. External enemies can be avoided, confronted, or defeated. But what happens when the enemy is within? When the voice of doubt whispers in the silence? When pride urges action over wisdom? When anger demands control? These are the true forces that shape a person. For every decision begins in the mind. A person who does not master themselves will always be at the mercy of their emotions, their impulses, their unchecked desires. They will convince themselves that their actions are justified, that their weaknesses are not weaknesses at all, but simply part of who they are. And so they will make excuses, they will shift blame, they will allow darkness to take root without ever realizing it. The only way to prevent this is through discipline. A person must question their own thoughts as fiercely as they question the words of a deceiver. They must recognize their own flaws before pointing out the flaws of others. They must understand that the enemy outside is far less dangerous than the enemy within. A weak man blames the world for his suffering. He believes his hardships come from the actions of others, from misfortune, from circumstances beyond his control. But a strong man looks inward first. He understands that no external force can truly destroy him unless he allows it. His greatest fear is not betrayal, not failure, not even death. It is losing himself. For the world can take everything from a person except their character, their principles, their soul. These are the things that must be guarded above all else. A man who protects his own soul cannot be corrupted. He cannot be manipulated. He cannot be broken because his foundation is unshakable. But this does not happen by accident. It requires constant effort, relentless self-examination, and the willingness to face uncomfortable truths. It means rejecting arrogance, refusing self-deception, and standing firm even when no one else is watching. For the battle within is never ending, and the moment a person stops fighting, they begin to lose. To guard one's own soul is not to live in fear, but to live with awareness. It is to understand that every action, every choice, every thought shapes the person you become. A single compromise may seem small, a minor lie, a fleeting moment of selfishness, but these are the cracks through which corruption enters. No one falls all at once. They slip, step by step, unaware that they are descending until it is too late. A man who guards his soul does not ignore these small moments. He confronts them. He does not justify his mistakes. He corrects them. He does not allow comfort or convenience to dictate his morals. He chooses discipline over indulgence, wisdom over impulse, virtue over ease. And because of this, he remains free. For the man who has mastered himself, who has won the battle within, is the only one who can truly stand against the darkness without. If you wish to stand against the darkness in the world, you must first ensure that it does not live within you. The strongest warrior is not the one who conquers others, but the one who conquers himself. Do not let anger rule your actions. Do not let deception poison your mind. Do not allow the weaknesses of others to become your own. The world will test you through betrayal, through hardship, through temptation. But your strength is not found in how loudly you fight back. It is found in how unshakable you remain. Stand with unwavering virtue. Guard your soul as fiercely as you would your life. For in the end, it is not the battles fought in the open that determine your fate, but the silent war within. And if you emerge victorious in that war, no force in the world can ever truly defeat you. Thank you.